The real reason Alex Soros is demanding more money for Globalist Incubator, Ukraine. And I love the way the Liberty Daily worded this incubator, and that's exactly what Ukraine is. It's the globalist incubator. They're being used to launder money, to fund their globalist ideas. Is being used to create bioweapons and anything illegal that the globalists want to do. They do it there in Ukraine, and they want to continue to fund Ukraine so they can continue to fund their money laundering. That's what this is all about. And this article is actually from J.D. Rucker, but the editor from the Liberty Daily went in and made some changes to the article to point out what the real issue is, which is great. So we're gonna talk a little bit about this, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store. Also, check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for news as well. All right, let's talk about this news. George and Alex Soros, along with their globalist buddies in the World Economic Forum, United Nations, NATO, and the Council for Inclusive Capitalism, do not view Ukraine the way American leftists and neocons do. In America, most of the ongoing support for sending taxpayer dollars to Ukraine is driven by the military industrial complex enacting their will on their puppets in Washington, D.C. It's mostly driven by greed. For the globalist elite cabal, the stakes in Ukraine are far greater than making a quick buck. It is the cesspool of corruption from which they're able to launch their most important initiatives in Europe. This is why it was so important for Barack Obama and the deep state to initiate the color revolution in the nation in 2014. Yeah, and people don't really talk about that. This whole thing actually started in 2014 when they went in and they replaced their government, the Ukraine government, what the Ukraine people wanted. They replaced them with literal Nazis. And it had been articles that reported on this. I mean, mainstream media articles, left wing articles that reported on this in 2014. But they tend to ignore that that's that same government that was installed back then. It's still running things today. It's still Nazis. They haven't gone away, and that's why they refuse to admit that. The mainstream media refused to admit that. But the article goes on to say, and it's why Alex Soros is working hard to keep the money and weapons flowing in. Keep in mind that they do not believe Ukraine can actually win. In fact, they don't care about the outcome at all. What they want is for the war to be prolonged. They want to extend it out, so they can keep laundering that money, keep getting that money in. But the longer it lasts, the easier it is for the globalists to assert their will. The more damaged Ukraine is if a winner is finally declared, the better it will be for the aforementioned globalist groups as well as their financiers in BlackRock, Vanguard, central banks, the IMF, and the BIS. And modern day Ukraine was built by Obama and his underlings to be a black hole from which truth cannot escape. Massive money laundering goes undetected in Ukraine. Bioweapons can be built with less scrutiny than in communist China. Weapons can be brought in and divvied out to whatever nation or terrorist organization suits the needs of the globalists. Hamas and Hezbollah are recently recipients of military aid that was launched through Ukraine. In short, this is not just another globalist virtue signaling for Ukraine. It's a public statement of the panic the cabal is feeling over the prospects of aid not flowing to Ukraine from the United States. It is imperative that Republicans use the limited power they have in the House to prevent further funding of the globalist machinations. With that said, here's the news itself generated from the corporate media reports. Alex Soros the Democratic mega donor and chairman of the Open Society Foundation's OSF, asserted emphatically on Saturday that the West must stand firmly with Ukraine. Soros, who assumed leadership on the Open Society Foundation's from his father, George Soros, held discussions with Ukrainian Foreign Affairs Minister Dmytro Kuleba during the Munich Security Conference in Germany. Their meeting underscored Soros' unwavering support for Kiev in its ongoing conflict with Moscow. In a statement posted on X, Soros urged Western nations to maintain their financial support for Ukraine, emphasizing, quote, "We must not abandon Ukraine," he says. He said, great to meet Ukrainian Foreign Affairs Minister in Munich. We must not abandon Ukraine, he says. And the Soros remarks come amidst a contentious debate in Washington, D.C., where House Republicans are pushing back, and thank goodness they are. So there's some resistance against President Biden's request for an additional $60 billion in aid to Ukraine. Concerns over corruption scandals within President Zelensky's administration, the lack of progress on the battlefield, and the absence of a clear end goal outlined by the White House have fueled opposition to further financial commitments. President Zelensky also made a plea for continued Western assistance during the Munich conference, citing, quote, artificial deficit of weapons and munitions that he claims has given Russia an advantage. The recent capture of Avdiivka by Russian forces following a 4-month battle underscores the urgency of the situation. Alex Soros, much like his father, has been a staunch advocate for Ukraine. His recent visit to Kiev, where he met with President Zelensky and First Lady Olena Zelensky, reflects his ongoing commitment. Soros' donation of $1 million to Olena Zelensky charity further solidifies his partnership with the Open Society Foundation in supporting Ukrainian causes. Yeah, they're the one behind this. Oh, they're the ones that started this. But the Soros network's involvement in Ukraine dates back decades, with the establishment of International Resistance Foundation in Kiev in the 1990s. Yes, George Soros started this color revolution. This is his doing. That's, of course, his son is going to come in and continue where his dad left off. But through initiatives like IRF, the Open Society Foundation have been instrumental in supporting Ukraine's civil society and citizens groups, investing approximately $230 million in the country over the years. Looking ahead, Alex Soros has identified preventing the resurgence of so-called MAGA-style Republicans, particularly former President Donald Trump, as a key priority. He argues that such a development would jeopardize European unity and undermine progress made in response in the conflict in Ukraine. See, he don't care anything about American money. He wants the American money. He said Europe jeopardize European unity. He don't care anything about Americans and their tax dollars that's being put against these endless wars that they're creating, because he is the one behind it. He is the one benefiting from these wars. That's why it's a whole money laundering scheme. They give money to these foundations, their foundations, and it goes, and the money goes around and is being used and being laundered. This is crazy. Soros and his father have long been influential figures in leftist causes, leveraging their substantial wealth in advanced agendas ranging from abortion rights to climate change activism. Prior to assuming leadership of the Open Society Foundation, Alex Soros was actively involved in supporting Democratic candidates, including prominent figures like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. I mean, look how many trips he gets to the White House. He meet all these important figures. And between 2020 and 2022, the Open Society Foundation, alongside personal contributions from George Soros, channeled approximately $500 million into political causes aligned with the Democratic Party. This financial influence has extended to Alex Soros' interaction with the Biden administration, including numerous visits. See, this is what I was alluding to the White House and meetings with administration officials. In sum, Alex Soros' advocacy for Ukraine reflects a broader commitment to progressive causes, both domestically and internationally, driven by a desire to shape political outcomes and promote social change. That's what they say. But this whole, we all know what this is real is. This is the rich getting richer. This is the rich vying for more power and more control. and they can basically do whatever they want, and they do it through Ukraine. That's why they're fighting so hard to get your money, to get your tax dollars to be put into Ukraine. But let me know what you think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.